Well, I get to talk about my favorite thing ever, Santa. I'm actually going to talk about the Santa Principle. And if you're science of mind, you know what a principle is, right? I looked it up. Principle is source of a cause for an effect. So then what is the Santa Principle? Okay, so I want to let you know that I was inspired to talk about the Santa Principle by another minister, Reverend David Bruner from California. I don't know if y'all follow him on Facebook, but you should. Every day he asks a random question. And one day he asked the question of, when did you find out about Santa? Now I'm going to leave the rest of the question off just in case there's anybody under a certain age watching it. And I thought about it and I was like, it took me a couple of days to answer that one. That's the beauty of these questions, because people are constantly answering them, so they'll pop back up into your news feed. And finally I was sitting there going, wait a minute. Santa is an idea. Santa is a principle. So Santa, okay, now here's where somebody is going to have to watch me, because I can talk about the mythology of Santa for like days. There are multiple versions of Santa. There are multiple people who have been Santa, up to and including Odin. Yeah, Odin, the one-eyed Norse god. And there's also St. Nicholas and Kris Kringle, and then there have been various elves. There are lots of different Santas. But Santa's also an idea. Santa's an idea that lives in the heart. And it lives in every heart, which is what makes Santa a principle. So what's the effect of Santa? Well, let's talk about what Santa is. Well, first off, Santa's a symbol of abundance. I mean, we've all seen that bag of holding, right? He comes with this not that big bag, and yet manages to reach in the bag and pull out exactly the right gift for exactly the right person. Notice that I didn't say child, person. Every time, it's definitely magic. Santa also gives with no thought of return. Okay, but what about the Christmas cookies? I looked it up, and that goes back to Odin. When Odin was on his wild hunts, then people would leave out gifts of hay and carrots and drinks to entice Odin to stop and rest there, because if Odin stopped and rested there, he would maybe leave a gift, but it wasn't a guarantee. So when we get to now, we leave out the milk and cookies, but we do it because we want Santa to keep going. So we're energizing the Santa, but it's not required. He'll still stop. And Santa gives for the joy of giving, okay? Nobody gets left out. Yeah, I know, I've heard the song Naughty and Nice. And he's got a list and he's checking it twice. But even when you've been naughty, you still get a gift, right? You get coal. So think about it. Now, do I want coal? No. But if I had a coal-burning fireplace and it was cold, would I want coal? Yes. So sometimes Santa gives gifts that don't make sense. And I'm going to tell you, if anybody has ever read Terry Pratchett, I love Terry Pratchett. If you've not read The Hogfather, please do. It is about this whole Christmas cyclical solstice, will the sun come up tomorrow? But in one of those where the character, the anthropomorphic character of Death, is trying to keep the belief in the Hogfather, read Santa. He shows up at the store and plays Santa. And he pulls a sword out of his bag and gives it to a small child. And the mother's like, "You can't do that. It's dangerous." At which point Santa said, "That's the point of the sword. If they don't learn it now, when are they going to learn it?" So Santa gives for the joy of giving. And he gives practical gifts, ridiculous gifts, fun gifts, expensive gifts, inexpensive gifts. He meets a need in a moment. And there's something about the magic of children's joy on Christmas Day. I mean, I won't tell you how long ago it was that I would remember. Like, I'd wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning, and I'd look at the clock, and I'd be like, "Can I go now? Can I go now? Can I go now?" No, I really need to wait. I need to let Mom and Dad sleep for 2 more hours? Maybe. And there were a few where, we went down with the flashlights very quietly and got all excited and then went back to bed. So the magic of children's joy. And it's not just about the gifts. It's about the whole thing. Behind me. This. When you transform your environment into something magical. You bring trees from the outside in. You put lights everywhere. Your house smells amazing because you're cooking and you're baking and you're doing all of that. So here's the really cool thing. We're all on Santa's team. Because remember when I said that Santa gives with no thought of return or acknowledgement? So when you do those little things every day, like the example that I read on Facebook was that somebody called 911. The person who 911 came for will never know who called 911. That's Santa magic. Or when you show up as a small child and talk to your grandmother and your grandmother goes, "No, Santa's real. Let me show you Santa." And you go and you buy a coat. And your grandma gave you $10 and you find out later that the coat was $20. But the shopkeeper who sold you the coat, when she found out who the coat was for, because it was a friend in your class who didn't have a coat, charged you what you had. That's the magic of Santa. And that's grandma magic and giving magic and generosity. So, everybody's on Santa's team. So, but we don't have to restrict it just to Santa, just to this time of year. We can do that all year round. But I wanted to leave you with the principle of Santa. And please groan when you hear this. The principle of Santa is ELF. The E stands for empathy. Caring because you see the situation. The L, well, that's obvious. That's for love. Giving to the needs, not just the wants. And the F is for philanthropy. It starts with an F, right? Because philanthropists are generally anonymous. And Santa hides behind every face that you see. So we are all Santa. And source and spirit is Santa. So you don't just have to have a white beard and a big bowl belly full of jelly. Ooh, that didn't come out right. When you do it in the spirit of elf, you get to be Santa too. So I invite you on this Christmas Eve to invite the elf of the Santa Principle into your life.